The wind howled over the battlements of Winterfell like a wounded direwolf, threading its mournful cry through every crack in the ancient stone. In Lord Eddard Stark's solar, candles shivered, their flames bowing to the draught. Yet the Lord of Winterfell himself stood unmoved. He leaned above a rough-hewn table that had borne his ancestors' maps for centuries, tracing with a calloused finger the jagged path of the King's Road. Parchment smelled of tallow and cold iron, stained with the grease of old decisions. Each blot echoed past rides south, rides that had cost Starks their heads or their hearts. Outside, riders clattered into the yard, breath bursting in white clouds from their horses, the creak of leather gear and the stamp of hooves, underscoring the urgency carried from every northern holdfast. Letters had arrived by Raven these past moons, Karstark seals damp with snow, Manderley ribbons smeared with sea salt damp, a tall wax direwolf, from the umbers broken by a hasty night. Each letter bore the same refrain. The realm trembles. The north cannot bend again. Ned's eyes, gray as fresh ice on the white knife, narrow. The southern sun had blinded too many northerners before they reached the Red Keep's looming shadow, burning away honor until only ash-tasting compromise remained. He would not gamble his son's futures on distant courtiers, nor let his daughter's fates be dictated by whispers among crimson tapestries. Winter was nearing, and winter demanded resolve. A soft knock sounded, 3 taps, each deliberate. Ned turned. Catelyn entered, her auburn hair tucked beneath a heavy hood, cheeks rosy from the courtyard chill. Tiny droplets jeweled her lashes, glittering in the candlelight. "You summoned the bannermen," she said, voice quiet but unflinching. "They summoned themselves," Ned replied, gesturing at the parchment pile. "Every hall north of the Neck feels the tremor in King's Landing. Robert's cups grow fuller, his council emptier. Lannister gold drowns the capital. We cannot wait for a storm to sweep us away." Catelyn stepped beside him, following his gaze down the inky black road sketched toward the south. "A crusade," she murmured. Brand new words in old northern mouths. Not brand new. He touched the sword line marked Moat Cailin, his callus rasping the parchment. Bran the Builder raised these stones to keep southern axes at bay. If the throne grows rotten, the blight spreads north. Better to cut the rot than bury children in its poison. A gust rattled the shutters. Somewhere below, the smith's hammer rang, clang, clang, shaping steel for war. The rays of glow flickered across Ned's mind, the spark of destiny or doom. He inhaled the sooty scent memory provided and tasted iron on his tongue. Robb burst in then, hair wild, eyes alight. He was grown to near man height, but moved with the restless hunger of a wolf not yet full. "Father, the Karstarks ride through the gate. Lord Rickard himself, 400 spears, maybe more." Ned offered a slow nod. "Help them find their quarters. Feed every man, every horse. Frostbite makes poor allies." When the door closed, Catelyn laid a hand on his wrist. 400 spears are a crack in the ice. Once broken, no healing breath can freeze it again. "That is the point," he said. "Either the North stands whole, or kneels piecemeal for southern sport." Her sigh was barely audible. "And Jon Arryn? Do we abandon his truth?" Ned's gaze hardened. "Jon Arryn was murdered for prying at secrets. If I must pry, I will not do so alone in a nest of vipers. I will ride with mountains behind me." A raven caught outside the window, black wings beating the gray sky as if applauding resolve. Snow fell thick the next dawn, cloaking Winterfell in hush. Bannermen filled the great hall. Rickard Karstark, broad as a bear. Janos Bracken with frost still clinging to his beard. Mage Mormont wearing a cloak of her own shaggy bear hide. Their voices rose and tumbled like distant thunder, while stewards poured mulled wine. The air steamed with breath, with purpose. Ned rose. Silence rippled outward like startled fish beneath ice. "My lords," he began, tone measured, "for 200 years the North has bent the knee to Southern kings. We have paid our share of coin and sons and daughters. Yet a throne's justice turns fickle. Small folk vanish on the King's Road. Traders speak of Lannister men in gold-hunt crimson cloaks, haunting taverns north of the Trident. Jon Arryn, the hand trusted by all, lies cold beneath the Red Keep, his death unanswered. Lie hey." He paused, letting the words sink, letting grief sharpen into iron. "If treachery steers the crown, we do not wait to be steered. We investigate, confront, demand redress. But we ride not cap in hand. We ride beneath grey banners, proud and unbroken. We ride as Starks, Manderleys, Karstarks, Glovers, one people old as winter." Whispers flurried, then stillness. Meg Mormont slammed a fist to the table. "The North remembers," she barked. "We march." Others echoed. Torches spluttered, sparks swirling like embers of unity. Only Wyman Manderley, well-fed and reedy-faced, raised a pudgy hand. "My lord, ships can bear men swift and rested. Let us sail to the Blackwater, catch the lion napping." Ned shook his head. "The narrow sea is watched by sails, red with kraken and crowned stag alike. On land we command familiar ground, supply lines of salted venison and barley bread. When Southrons starve, our men will feast." Karstark's grim smile showed teeth as white as the falling snow. Decision taken, oaths renewed. The North stirred like a giant finally roused. For weeks, Winterfell's yards rang. Fletchers stacked sheaves of gray feathered arrows. Armorsmiths hammered breastplates until stars blinked in the sky. Wolves howled each night, picking up the echo of distant horns as riders arrived. Hornwood, Tallheart, Dustin. Even the wild clans of the high passes sent lean warriors, bright eyes gleaming beneath shaggy hair, eager to trade bronze axes for southern steel. Arya watched from atop the library tower, balancing like a crow on the parapet, her cheeks raw from the bite of wind. Below, men sparred in the bailey, Robb dancing with grey wind at his heels, steel flashing. She drank the sight greedily, imprinting every motion for some secret future of her own. When she shut her eyes, she felt the castle's heartbeat pounding underfoot, a rhythm promising that change no longer crept. It galloped. In the Godswood, Ned knelt before the heart tree, crimson leaves fluttering around him like silent witnesses. The face carved millennia ago regarded him with somber reproach. Blood-red sap bled from its eyes, or perhaps tears. He spoke softly. "Forgive me. I leave your shade to fight in sunshine, though sun burns pale northern skin. Watch over withered honor. Keep my children safe. Let winter's breath follow me south, unyielding." A soft rustle, no breeze, answered, and he felt as every Stark had felt, the cold hand of ancestors on his shoulder. They departed beneath skies of hammered pewter. The column stretched leagues, hooves crunching thin ice, standard-bearers' cloaks snapping, wheel ruts marking black scars across snow. Robb rode at Ned's left, Theon Greyjoy at his right, though the Ironborn sat uneasy, as if scanning for a sea that refused to follow. Behind, the direwolves loped, tongues lolling steam, eyes ever vigilant. The neck greeted them with choking mists and mire-sucking bogs. Reed Cranagman guided their path, slipping ghost-silent through rushes. Spears tipped with poison gleamed from frog bellies. They spoke in lilting whispers of spear-tail lizards and green dream omens. One night Mira Reed knelt before Ned's fire, green eyes luminous. "The South will try to drown you in golden wine," she said. "Drink not, its sweetness masks rot." Ned inclined his head. The words of the neck run deep. Moat Cailin loomed, massive, broken, impenetrable from the south, but from the north, a rugged cousin. Still, Ice-slick stones challenged even northern sure-footedness. It felt a threshold. Once crossed, the wind smelled different, softer, carrying hints of farmland, distant hearth-fire smoke, and the faintest note of jasmine no northern wolf had reason to know. At Barroton, grain wagons swelled the host. At White Harbor, ships shadowed their landward march, such that gulls circled overhead, as though confused to find their port migrating along muddy roads. Rivers lay still iced at the edges when envoys rode to parley. Hoster Tully, grey and bedridden, sent his banners, trout leaping silver. Brendan Blackfish met Ned beneath a withered willow by the Red Fork. His grizzled jaw worked a lump of dried leaf. "Your words?" the Blackfish asked, steel in tone. "Justice," said Ned. "For Aaron, for the realm. Justice rarely rides alone. War keeps it company." Ned's breath frosted between them. "Then war will learn honor or choke on it." On dew-wet grass they clasped forearms. The Blackfish's eyes glinted approval. And so the host swelled again. Tully's spearmen, shoulder to shoulder, with Karstark riders. Western bank glittering, pikes like a wheat field of iron. Ravens flapped overhead, carrying tidings to castles too slow to outrun shifting loyalties. Some burned the birds rather than answer. Hoping in vain, the flames could cauterize dread. By mid-spring they reached the Trident, its memory of Robert's rebellion still whispering among reeds. Campfires flickered along the bank. Around each fire, men diced, sharpened swords, murmured stories of mad kings and usurpers. Through tents Ned walked nightly, gray wind padding behind, nodding to sentries, accepting bowls of thin hair stew, so as to taste every soldier's lot. He offered quiet words, a hand upon a shaking shoulder, a promise etched not in gold, but shared chill. One evening, a boy no older than Bran shivered beneath a threadbare cloak. Ned settled beside him, unlatching his own fur mantle, draping half across the lad's shoulder. "From Deepwood Motte, my lord," the boy stammered. "Nami? Torren." Ned smiled faintly. "A strong name. The last king in the north bent the knee to Aegon, yet kept our people whole. We ride so you never bend so far again." Torren's eyes widened. Ned left him warming. King's Landing woke to dread whispers long before banners darkened the horizon. Spies carried tales of a northern tide unstoppable, of wolves howling as far south as the Blackwater Rush. In the Red Keep, Queen Cersei's lips thinned. Pycelle dripped warnings like stale candle grease. Varys fluttered, suggesting delicate tugs on unseen strings. Robert Baratheon laughed at first, called for casks of ale, swore Ned had grown soft, and would return begging forgiveness once southern heat melted his snow-cast host. But Robert laughed less when ravens ceased to return. When gold shipments from Casterly Rock began marching west instead of south, when whisperers spoke of rivermen scouting the Kingswood, he downed another horn of wine and stalked the stone floor, complaining his hauberk no longer fit around his belly. On a dawn sticky with salt air and the stench of fish from Blackwater Bay, the first northern outriders crested the ridge above the Gold Road. They carried no torches. Wolves needed none. Small folk killed fields until they froze, heads jerking up at the rumble of hooves, eyes black with fear. Yet the gray banners passed without pillage, leaving silence blown by seed fluff. Ser Barristan Zelmy stood upon the ramparts when Ned approached, the host sprawling like storm clouds behind him. Their eyes met across rising daylight, two swords forged of different temper, yet hammered on the same anvil of duty. Barristan's respect bowed his head. He saw no raider, he saw an answer to rot. Inside, the Red Keep quaked. Lannister guards lined halls in gilded plate, crimson cloaks bright as spilled blood. Somewhere, in a hall of echoing marble, A little king consumed with quiet fantasies of power twirled a wooden sword, oblivious to the real ones drawing shadows across the realm. Ned camped his army on the northern bank of the Blackwater, too disciplined to sprawl into the crowded city's stink. He sent ravens to the Hand's Tower, to the Septs, even to the guild halls. Each bore the same offer: open counsel beneath the eyes of gods and men. Speak truth of John Aaron's death. Purge corruption, lest corruption be burnt root and branch. 7 days he allowed. On the first, Robert roared refusal, smashing cups. On the second, Cersei convened with Tyrion, red wine darkening her lips like carnivore stains. On the third, Grand Maester Pycelle penned missives to Old Town begging precedent. On the fourth, Varys walked the dark passages, ears twitching, weighing tides. On the fifth, small folk gathered atop the Hill of Rhaenys to glimpse grey banners like storm cloud walls. They spoke of northern justice, of a king who once rode through their streets, swinging a hammer for truth, now trapped behind stone and fear. On the sixth, ravens circled but carried no letters. The seventh dawn spilled crimson light across the river. Ned Stark mounted his horse, ice crystals clinging to his beard despite the southern warmth. He rode alone to the center of the span of the River Gate Bridge. Its boards creaked under the weight of what the realm might become. Across the gap, Sir Barristan emerged likewise alone. He removed his helm. His white hair stirred in breeze scented with distant smoke. "My Lord Stark," the old knight called, voice carrying like ringing steel. "The crown answers, open the gates, lay down arms, or be named rebel. The king commands." Ned considered the man before him, the noblest sword in Westeros, now mouthpiece for a king who forgot honor. His reply came measured as snowfall. "I rode to save the crown from rot, not to pluck it for myself. I will not lay down justice." The city's walls loomed, pregnant with archers, but no arrow flew. Even stone seemed to hold its breath. Barristan's eyes glistened. "Then I will escort you to speak before the king." A slow shake of the head, not while vipers coiled at his side. He lifted a folded parchment. "Bring this to Robert. It holds the proof John Arryn died not by sickness but by poison brewed in Lannister shadows." He extended the parchment. Barristan accepted, fingers brushing momentarily, transferring the cold of Melot leather. Without another word, both men turned. Mirror shades of duty diverging. Night fell heavy. Torches ringed the northern camp, a constellation of resolve. In the command tent, Robb pored over a map diet. Theon lounged, sharpening his dirk, restless sea still calling. Catelyn watched her son's jaw, how it already firmed like Ned's, and she feared the price of steel upon flesh. Ned entered, snow-dusted even here, though no snow fell. Eyes turned, he unrolled a fresh-inked letter. Barristan's hand by the tight formal slope. "Robert meets us at dawn," he said. "No lords, no wives, no lions or wolves. Just two old friends beneath the God's Eye oaks outside the city." No. Silence rippled. Finally Robb spoke. "And if the lioness sends assassins instead of the king, then the realm loses more than a king." Ned surveyed them each. "But to refuse is to prove the North gained courage only by distance. We meet, or we become invaders." He dismissed them. Alone, he sat, oil lamp flickering shadows across his face. He drew out a small carved figure. Jones. The boy had begged to ride south, but winter had other need of him. Ned pressed the figure's wolfish face to his lips. "Hold the walls, my son. Guard your sisters. Guard our home." "Man say." The lamp sputtered. Outside, the wolves howled, not in rage, but in yearning for a moon. Half hidden by cloud, as if the very heavens hesitated to reveal full truth. Dawn lit the grove outside the gate of the gods. Dew glittered on grass, birds stilling as if their songs might tip the moment. Ned waited beneath an oak older than Aegon's Landing. Sword ice rested point down in the earth at his side. Robert came on foot, a bear of a man once, now burdened by a belly of years and drink, though a spark of storm yet flickered in blue eyes. He wore no crown, only a mail shirt strained at the girth, and a cloak embroidered with black stags racing. In his hand was a warhammer, dented from rebellion days. They faced each other. No gods, no banners, only memory between them. Robert's voice cracked first, rough as gravel. 7 hells, Ned. You bring half the north to my gates, and still look at me like I'm the one who betrayed you. Did you? Ned asked quietly. Robert exhaled a scented breath. You think I killed Aaron? No, Ned said. But you let vipers nest. Their venom runs through everything. Crow cawed overhead. Robert flinched. Ned stepped forward. Read the letter. Robert unfolded the parchment. John Aaron's scribble listing names and lineages, proof of base-born gold hair in Baratheon beds. His brows knit. By the gods. Your children, Ned whispered. Not your blood. The warhammer slid lower. Iron head brushing grass. Cersei, Robert murmured, a name now newly edged. She lied. They all lied. Ned waited, as patient as winter. Robert's shoulders sagged. What now, old friend? Justice. Cersei must face trial. The small council purged. The North returns home only when the realm is clean. Me. Sure. And if I refuse, then we remain at your gates until the city tears itself apart or bends to honor. Robert stared at the rising sun, bleeding gold across the sky. The same gold that lined Lannister pockets. I loved a woman once, he confessed, eyes damp. Lyanna would have laughed to see the man I became. She would have wept, Ned answered gently. Robert's laugh choked. Very well, summon the council. We cut out the rot Dottinghill. He extended a hand, large as a smith's maul. Ned took it. Yet in the shadows of leaves, hidden eyes watched. Jaime Lannister, white cloak, bright against trunk, unhallowed witness, fingers flexed on unseen hilt, plans within plans, coiled like adders. That evening, Robert re-entered the Red Keep, flanked by Barristan and Ned. Lannister guards shifted uneasily. Cersei awaited in the throne room, green eyes, razors. As Robert mounted the dais, she offered a practiced smile, thin as parchment. My king returns with his snowbound lapdog, she purred. Robert's reply thundered across pillars. Silence. You will answer for treason. Gasps. Dior turning. Dulis. Gold cloaks bristled, half turning between lion and stag. Cersei's composure fractured. She reached for Joffrey, perched on the edge of the throne, but the boy recoiled, sensing tempest. Pycelle shuffled, beard trembling. Varys lowered eyelids, calculating. Jaime stepped forward, sunlight catching gleaming steel. You accuse my sister? He asked, tone deceptively soft. Your sister and you, Ned said, voice cold. The king's children share more than hair. Jaime's smile curved fox sharp. And if you die before words reach ears, ice sang free of its sheath, wide and pale. Jaime's sword mirrored, gold lion hilt flashing. Guards lifted spears. The throne room crackled with killer's intent. Robert shouted, enough, but his voice, once strong enough to quiet armies, now wrestled wine breath and fear. Blood stained the floor. Whose first, none later recalled. In the chaos, shadows lunged, Varys guiding Sansa behind a pillar, Cersei screaming orders, Joffrey shrieking as Tyrion yanked him down. Steel clashed like icicles shattering. Stark bannermen rushed through side doors, wolf and trout and bear answering distant horns. And thus the Northern Crusade passed from threat to conflagration, from careful diplomacy to wildfire within a single heartbeat. The Red Keep transformed into a maze of blade-lit corridors, every oath unraveling to reveal copper-smelling truth beneath. Outside, Rob saw the distant plume of ravens scatter from Maegor's holdfast and knew the die cast. He raised his sword. With me, for Winterfell, for the king in the north, yet crownless. The host's roar shook the stones, a wave hurling itself against crimson tide. Across battlements, torches bloomed like fiery blossoms in a garden irrigated by blood. The wolves had come south, not to bark, but to bite. And from Dorne to the Vale, from Old Stones to the Wall, ravens took wing bearing word that Ned Stark had stepped across the bridge of no return, dragging winter behind him into a city of summer walls. In the deepest cell beneath the Red Keep, where black water dripped and unseen things skittered, a jailer's lantern revealed stone scratching of an earlier prisoner. When the snow falls and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. New hands, trembling yet determined, reached to add another line. Unfinished, hopeful, jagged as northern mountains rising into night. They carved, but the pack marches, and the world must learn to howl. Now, she, I. The clangor of steel was a storm contained within marble walls, a relentless metallic roll that drowned every remembered melody of courtly minstrels. Ice's broad edge carved arcs of winter-bright silver through the dim throne room air. Every swing slow but unstoppable, as though the blade sliced seconds from the day itself. Ned Lannister met each ponderous stroke with liquid ripostes, gold-hilted longsword flickering like sunlight on a river. Sparks leapt from their collisions, tiny comets that hissed and faded before they kissed the floor. Between feints, Jaime's smirk never quite vanished, though sweat beaded along the line of his jaw. "Heavy weapon, Lord Stark," he panted, sliding along ice flat to slip inside Ned's guard. But the older man pivoted, armored shoulder slamming forward, to shunt Jaime away as if brushing snow from a cloak. "But then you Northerners always did like blunt truths." Ned's answer was silence, but his eyes were glacial stillness. With each heartbeat he recalled Rob's face, Joan's unanswered letters, Bran's laughter tumbling among broken towers, and let the memories weigh his strikes. Jaime's sword rang again, jarred back. The Kingslayer lost half a step, dancing toward the dais where Joffrey cowered behind the throne's iron fangs. Elsewhere in the hall, chaos blossomed. Karstark men in rough cloaks wrestled with gold cloaks and gilded mail. Barristan Selmy parried 2 Lannister guards at once, white cloaks swirling. Cersei shrieked indistinct commands that vanished beneath the roar of clashing wills. Varys glided toward a side passage, tugging Sansa's arm, his powder-scented whisper urging, "Quickly, sweet child, we must away before the tide turns." Tyrion skittered behind a toppled pillar, narrow eyes darting. Above the din he discerned the distinct howls of direwolves echoing from distant courtyards. Grey Wind, Shaggy Dog, even Nymeria's ghostly voice, though she was leagues away. The city walls had been breached somewhere. He swore under his breath, mind racing through contingencies, alliances, exits. Somehow, as always, survival lay in standing precisely where the world's axes crossed and timing the sidestep. Near the grand doors, Robb Stark burst through at the head of a wedge of northern outriders. Their mail was battered from the gate assault, shields splintered, yet the fire in their eyes eclipsed exhaustion. Grey Wind bounded beside his master, slavering muzzle crimson, fur matted with the evidence of earlier skirmishes. The direwolf's growl reverberated like another war horn as the beast leapt onto a Lannister pikeman, jaws closing with an awful crunch. Robb's blade whirled, a waterfall of cold light in torch glow, each strike following the next in youth's unbroken rhythm. "My lord father," Rob shouted across the maelstrom. Ned could not spare words. He twisted ice in a parry so powerful it numbed Jaime's arm to the elbow, then kicked the Golden Knight's knee. Jaime staggered, grimace twisting the finely sculpted arrogance. Rob shoved forward, desperate to close the gap, but a surge of gold cloaks funneled between them. The son hacked, the father endured, both trapped in separate hurricanes. Catelyn Stark, meanwhile, commanded a company of Manderly men outside the Red Keep's main gate. Field tents already sprouted like pale mushrooms along the avenue. She had demanded healers ride in the vanguard, her voice brooking no refusal. Now she strode from pallet to pallet, cloak flaring, lending courage with touch and tone. Our Stark youth clutched his slashed thigh. She pressed linen herself, her palms steady though hot blood seeped around her fingers. "You'll walk Winterfell's halls again," she promised. "Hold tight." Above, catapults on the city walls had ceased their sporadic stone hurling. Upon realizing the Northerners would not burn peasants to topple kings. Instead, pressure mounted inward. Alleys clogged with fleeing small folk. Bells rang a confused alarum more suited to plague than revolution. Whispers that Ned Stark carried proof of an incestuous dynasty spread like wildfire, each retelling adding heat until even the poorest fishmonger spat Lannister at a gutter rat. In Flea Bottom, Arya Stark darted between overturned barrows, needle in hand. She had slipped from the kindly arms of Jory Castle the instant his attention wavered. Now her mud-caked boots scarcely cracked straw as she moved. Ahead, a butcher brandishing a cleaver tried bullying a child away from a sack of turnips. Arya hemmed him with a sharp prod behind the knee, toppling him, then dragged the child on. "No time for thanks." She had a destination sung to her in the howl of wolves, the castle's godswood, where secrets spoke louder than men. Back in the throne room, blood glazed the tiles in a widening mirror. Pycelle waddled crab-like behind the Iron Throne, seeking a crevice to hide his trembling bulk. A Mormont shield maiden crashed her axe upon a lion banner, severing silk and pole alike. Over the din, a horn sounded 3 notes. Stark, Stark, Tully. Rob's call to regroup. His outriders rallied, forming a defensive crescent that pressed toward Ned. Jaime executed a tumbling recovery, springing onto the dais steps. "You realize, Stark, if you kill me, the Mad King's daughter will name you the next Kingslayer." He lunged, point darting for Ned's unarmored thigh. Ice swung down, not to block, but to intercept, cleaving Jaime's sword a finger's breadth above the quillons. Steel shrieked. Half-blade spun away, clattering among petrified courtiers. For the first time, shock reached Jaime's veneer. He backpedaled, hand empty, save for a golden stump of pride. Ned leveled ice at the Kingslayer's throat. "Kneel, dot." Jaime's laugh was thin, wounded. He spread arms. "And what? Beg forgiveness. Tell your honor. 'Twas only lion love." His green eyes flicked sideways, calculating. Then, lightning swift, his left hand drew the dagger hidden beneath tunic leather. Valyrian steel, black and cruel. He slashed upward. Ned jerked aside, but the tip scraped mail, scoring skin beneath. Pain flared like polar fire. An answering pain blossomed in Jaime. An arrowhead emerging from his chest. He stared down in wonder at the gray-fletched shaft. Across the room, Bran's bowstring still vibrated. No, not Bran, too young and far. Instead, a Crannogman perched atop a toppled statue. Reed longbow already notched again. Howland Reed's son Yojen lowered his aim. Jaime tried to speak. Red bubbled at his lips. He crumpled upon crimson-streaked marble beside Ice's shadow, life leaking in quiet spurts. Silence rippled outward from the fallen Kingslayer, a negative roar that devoured lesser noises. Even the clamor of clashing retainers faltered as eyes widened at the sight. The gilded lion, arrogant smile forever stilled. Ned Stark stood over the corpse, chest heaving slow as draw of wintertide. With a deliberate gesture he planted ice tipped down, the great sword's weight anchoring fate. Sir Barristan Selmy approached, helm under arm, white cloak stained with soot, yet still emblem of irreproachable valor. He peered at Jaime's corpse, then at Ned, sorrow flooding ancient blue eyes. Justice or vengeance? He asked, voice ragged with decades. Both, perhaps, Ned answered. May the gods forgive the realm its confusion. Barristan inclined his head, acknowledging verdict rendered by cold necessity. Around them, the fighting sputtered, some gold cloaks dropping weapons, others backing into defensive knots. Robb's wedge at last reached his father. Father and son clasped forearms streaked in sweat and gore. Words failed, but their shared breath spoke volumes. A second horn note rang outside, deeper, slower. Karstark's signalers recognized it first, a wild roar signifying an approaching host, not theirs. Robb shot a glance to the archway where sunlit haze unfurled. Who else rides, he muttered. Sabrindan Blackfish entered, armor splashed by trident mud. The King's Guard from the city gates, they march under Barristan's command now. But further south dust rises. Renly Baratheon arrives with Stormland cavalry, answering rumors of treason. Ned exhaled. Robert's brother will not take kindly to lions stealing crowns, but he'll expect Robert to hold them, not wolves. Barristan cleared his throat. His grace is alive but detained in chambers under Cersei's own guard. We must reach him before she plays her final card. At mention of Cersei, everyone turned, yet the queen was gone. Only a torn crimson sash remained near the back passage. Pycelle, too, had vanished, perhaps dragged along by Lannister men. Varys' absence felt like a riddle left on an empty pillow. Tyrion limped forward then, flicking blood spatter off doublet's sleeve. If my dear sister has spirited the king away, she'll head toward Maegor's Holdfast. The tunnels beneath the keep offer rat holes enough to lose an army. Robb leveled steel. Why help us, imp? Because, Tyrion said with tight smile, I should like to live to see dawn, and dawn currently favors wolves over lions. He bowed ironically. Besides, as a dwarf among giants, I prefer the tallest to wield the hammer. Ned considered, then nodded. Lead on. Outside the throne room, the castle corridors were choke points of riotous motion. Northern spears drove gold cloaks into alcoves. Tyrell retainers fleeing the small council chamber found themselves herded by Mormont axe maidens toward the stable. In anterooms, courtiers huddled behind overturned benches, praying to whichever god answered swiftly. Tyrion guided the Stark party through a servant's stair spiraling down into torchlit bowels. Damp smells of mildew and centuries-old dust mingled with tang of fresh blood. From the gloom emerged iron throne illusions, branching supports, spines of forgotten conquerors. But these were only storage racks hung with rusted blades, cast-offs too flawed even for the king of chairs. A junction of 3 tunnels, footsteps echoed, heavy, booted, purposeful. Ned raised a hand. His men melted into shadows. The column of Lannister soldiers rounded the bend, escorting a hooded figure bracketed by crimson cloaks and flanked by Sir Boros Blount. White cloaks spattered. Under the hood shone fat cheeks and gold-flecked beard, King Robert wrists shackled. Behind him, Cersei strode, gown hemmed dark with grime, yet dignity aflame in her eyes. Pycelle scuttled starboard, clutching vials, while behind, a brutish knight in lion-mantled helm carried a black barrel strapped with bronze bands, the mark of Alchemist's Guild. Robb hissed, recognizing wildfire when he saw it. One spark in these close corridors would turn stone passage to green hell. Cersei's gaze locked onto Ned emerging from gloom. Torchlight glimmered on ice's crimson wash. Her chin lifted. "You butcher my brother and still parade your sanctimony," she spat. "I hold you for treason and murder," Ned replied, voice echoing off damp walls. "Release the king." Robert squared thick shoulders, but drink and captivity dulled his thunder. "Ned, old friend," he slurred. "Seems my marriage bed bred serpents." Cersei's smile curdled. "Spoken like the glorious stag you once were. Tell your pet wolf to stand aside, Robert, before King's Landing learns what true fire burns." She nodded to the knight with Beryl. He hauled a torch free of sconce, tipped it toward bronze hoops. Tyrion stepped forward, palm raised. "Sister, consider. Wildfire cares little for banners. One droplet upon your silk, and you'll shine brighter than any torch, briefly. No, Zudain, Kulims." Cersei's knuckles whitened on Robert's chain, tugging him backward. "He'd deece with me if die I must. Better ashes than cages." Barristan appeared then, blade lowered yet eyes fierce. "Your Grace," he addressed Robert, "I have served 3 kings, all unworthy in some measure. Yet I served. Now I beg you command. Honor the realm, or damn it. Speak, and we obey." Robert swayed, sweat beading on florid brow, eyes swimming between wife and oldest friend. Memories of war, Triton's copper water, Lyanna's blood-soaked bed, flashed like distant lightning. At last his shoulders slumped. He met Ned's gaze through gloom. "Forgive me. I've no stomach left for rule. And this." Cersei's snarl birthed action. She yanked Robert aside, dragging him toward a side tunnel, nodding to Wildfire Knight. But before a torch touched Beryl, a shaft hissed through darkness. Arya's arrow loosed from unseen vantage. It struck the torch, flipping flame away to sputter against wet stone. In the same heartbeat, gray wind lunged, jaws closing on the knight's wrist. Bone cracked, torch clanged out. Green fluid sloshed within Beryl, but did not ignite. Robb charged. Spears pinned Lannister escorts. Ned disarmed Ser Boros with a ringing blow that sent the King's Guard sprawling. Cersei tried to flee, but Arya sprang from a crate. Catelyn emerged behind, voice low. "Enough, Your Grace. The game ends." Cersei froze. Fear flickered, chased by fury. Sluggishly, she released Robert. Tyrion exhaled. Wise. Uniformed footfalls thundered from above, Selmy's Kingsguard reinforcing. Riverland bannermen sweeping lower pass. The tunnel's air felt suddenly breathable. Ned clasped Robert's chain, snapping link with Ice's pommel. No more. Robert zagged but straightened, eyes clearer than they'd been in a decade. He surveyed his rescuers, Stark Steel, Tully Trout, Mormont Bears, Crannog Reeds. He looked last upon Jaime's blood on Ned's hauberk. "Too much lost," he murmured. "Yet maybe still enough remains." He faced Cersei. Guard seized her arms. She did not resist. Instead, she fixed Ned with a gaze that burned cooler than any wildfire. "The North will never keep this throne. You've roused lions from every den. They will come." "No, you have men. Then let them come," Robb growled. Robert gestured, and the party moved upward, guiding barrel of wildfire now carefully sealed to alchemist apprentices for safekeeping. Tyrion oversaw, voice precise. The alchemists bowed low to him, a Lannister still, but also their largest debtor. By twilight, Maegor's hold fast, and the Red Keep's inner bailey lay firmly under Stark Tully control. Ned established a perimeter of Karstark sentries, while Maester Luwin rode post-haste down the King's Road with ravens to every great house. A call for great council. The city itself erupted in rumor and relief. Small folk poured from houses to cheer direwolf banners when northern quartermasters distributed loaves seized from corrupt granaries. The faith septons walked among them, blessing bread and water. careful to note which benefactors truly fed the hungry. In the Royal Solar, Robert signed decrees penned by Jonas Bracken's swift quill, stripping Cersei of regency, appointing Eddard Stark Lord Protector for the length of the investigation, summoning Renly and Stannis to sit judgment upon their sister. Each signature cost him a drop of vitality, but when the ink dried, he leaned back, chest rising heavy, though unburdened. Ned stood beside an open window where sea breeze carried gull cries. He watched sails on the Blackwater, some unfurling golden lions to retreat toward Casterly Rock, others, Tyrell green, Arryn sky blue, approached cautiously, waiting to declare loyalty once dust settled. Robb entered, pausing at threshold. After formal salute, he spoke softly. "Father, the city guard accepts your command. They've lowered lion banners, raised stag and direwolf together. But word arrives. Tywin Lannister gathers 40,000 at Harrenhal. None of you." Ned's jaw tightened. "I expected nothing less. War will not vanish with one blade." He turned to Robert. "We must prepare." Robert's eyes lit with shadow of old fury. "Then we ride again, but not tonight." He rubbed broad hand over aching ribcage. "Let the North's winter dogs guard this keep while a Baratheon finds his hammer." Catelyn appeared, bringing a cup of mead for warming souls. She set it before Ned, then surprised him by gently touching the bandage at his side. "Maester Coleman says the cut is shallow. You'll heal if you rest." "Neshii, Nibizerzen Nuara Wa Ye." Ned smiled wryly. "Rest will come when wolves and lions share a den." From the room's corner, Arya piped up. The girl had shadowed her mother unseen. "Wolves don't share dens, they make dens bigger." She flourished needle with careless pride until her father's raised brow sent the blade vanishing into sleep. Laughter loosened tension, fleeting but genuine. Even Robert chuckled, though it ended in cough. "7 save me, Ned. Your cubs are wilder than mine ever were." Ned sobered. "They may need to be." Night deepened, draping kings landing in velvet speckled by lanterns. On the ramparts, guards toasted absent comrades. Below, healers changed dressings by candle. From rooftops, one could see faint campfires in the distance. Renly's host encamped south of the city, Tyrell and Reach colors mingling. Negotiations would begin at dawn. In a dank cell of the Black Cells, Cersei Lannister paced. Chains clinked, torch shadows stretched her silhouette to monstrous length. She repeated silent litany. Children, father, mountains, debts paid in blood. Her mind sketched a map of vengeance as precise as Qyburin's scalpel. "They think me beaten," she whispered, tasting iron on tongue where she'd bitten earlier. "I am not a lioness who bleeds. I am one who teaches bleeding." Pycelle dozed in a corner, beard soaked with spittle. She studied his keys, his pockets, the slow rise of his chest. Too frail a pawn, but a pawn she would play. Above, Tyrion sat alone in a turret chamber commandeered as study. He poured cherry wine and watched the Blackwater sparkle. Storms brewed beyond horizon. He felt them in joints. He touched a quill to parchment, drafting letters to father, cautious to Myrcella, comforting to Jon Snow at the wall, curious. He paused, smiling sadly. "The game changes boards but never rules," he murmured. On the street of steel, Gendry hammered a breastplate while smoke scented sky. He'd heard talk. The Hand's son might need armor soon. Business, like war, was opportunity. Dawn broke upon an uneasy truce. Great lords gathered in the throne room. Renly Baratheon resplendent in rose-trimmed stag armor. Sir Loras beside him. Stannis Dower, jaw clenched as if biting lemons. Hoster Tully had been carried in a litter, propped on cushions, eyes watery yet blazing with purpose. Doran Martell's envoy observed from the pillars, silent as sun-bleached bone. Even Balin Greyjoy's daughter Yara stood, cloak smelling of salt and daring. Robert climbed steps to stand before throne, but did not sit. Instead, he turned to the assembly. "I hold this realm by the will of its people and the strength of the friendships I once honored," he began, voice clear though hoarse. "That honor has rotted, and my own hand is red from the rot. Eddard Stark has reminded me what trueness costs. With his proof and the blood spilled last night, the lies end." He gestured. Ned stepped forward holding scrolls sealed with stag and direwolf. "Jon Arryn died by poison," Ned announced. "Administered on Cersei's order, brewed by Grand Maester Pycelle. Hidden by the King's Guard, chosen only for their name, but not their oath. Jaime Lannister admitted guilt to complicity before he fell." Gasps rippled. Sir Meryn Trant's eyes bulged. Ned handed scrolls to Stannis, known for iron adherence to rule. Stannis scanned, nostrils flaring. "Genetics," he muttered, the bookish term odd on lips of war. "Baratheon line is black of hair, except the Queen's get. Indisputable." Renly frowned, uncertainty wrestling with ambition. But Sir Loras' hand on his arm stilled him. Mace Tyrell watched calculations realign. Court heralds read further charges. Misappropriation of crown funds, intimidation, conspiracy with foreign sellswords. Each accusation nailed coffin boards around Lannister authority. Cersei was brought forth, chains rattling like chimes of doom. Her green gaze swept the hall, sizing, scorning, saving. "I demand trial by combat," she declared, voice slicing hush. "By law of the faith and the crown." Murmurs surged. Robert looked to Ned, whose lips thinned. Cersei smiled. "My champion rides from the west even now." Robb spoke. "Jaime is dead." "Not Jaime," Cersei purred. "Gregor, Clegane." A shiver passed the mountain. Reports placed him east, harrowing Riverland villages, but a raven could outride him to the city by noon. Robert rubbed temples. "7, save us all." Ned answered evenly. "House Stark accepts. The North's honor stands in the field." He looked among his bannermen. Karstark's sons nodded. Great Jon Umber pounded chest. But Ned's gaze settled on Sir Barristan. The old knight inclined head. "I will wear white for truth." Cersei laughed, brittle. "A relic of 3 kings. Let him. Gregor will pulp his bones." "So be it," Robert said, voice heavy. "At dawn 3 days hence, let the gods judge." Preparations consumed the keep. Squires sharpened legendary blades, Septons oiled altars. In the yard, Barristan practiced forms, each stroke slower but precise. Across packed earth, Robb drilled Karstark cavalry, anticipating Tywin's approach. On the Blackwater docks, Davos Seaworth supervised arrival of Stormlander grain, Renly's pledge of supply. Inside the Tower of the Hand, Arya crept around Bran's reclaimed wolf statue, listening to grown-ups' plan. She heard of hostages, of Tully levies marching west, of Manderley fleets blockading Lannisport. Each word etched new possibilities for revenge or rescue. Sansa sat by a window embroidering direwolves chasing lions. Though each stitch trembled, she replayed Jaime's death. Blood. Arrow. Father's solemnity. Stories she'd cherished were shattered glass. She must piece new mosaics. The night before trial, Ned knelt in the godswood planted in a courtyard niche. Though smaller than Winterfell's heart tree, its pale trunk seemed to glow with shared memory. He whispered, "Thanks for guidance, prayers for mercy." When he rose, Barristan waited. "I am no young blade," the old man warned. "Clegane is brute fire." Ned gripped Barristan's arm. "Honor wields you, sir. That is sharper than any edge." Barristan managed to smile. "Then let honor strike true." Dawn spilled red across the arena inside the dragon pit, chosen to spare small folk should wildfire erupt again. Tiered stone seats filled with lords, knights, and common spectators bribed or bullied for entry. The air tasted of dust and expectation. Cersei entered first, clad in crimson gown embroidered with golden lions that seemed to crawl as she moved. Chains replaced by golden cuffs, she raised chin, basking in both fear and hate of crowd. Behind her strode Gregor Clegane, a mountain indeed, plate the hue of old blood, greatsword 6 feet long. His visor shaped like snarling hound blocked his face, breath steaming through fanged vents. Opposite, Barristan Selmy emerged to thunderous cheers. He wore Kingsguard, white reinforced by fine steel mail. His blade, Lady Forlorn, gift from House Corbray for deeds past, shone as if star-forged. No helm. He fought bareheaded, silver hair a banner of defiance. High septon intoned rites. Robert, seated beneath canopy with Ned beside, gestured. Begin. Clegane charged, ground shaking. Barristan sidestepped, blade flicking, a bee against bull. Steel kissed plate seam, scoring bright line. Blood did not come. Clegane whirled horizontally. Barristan ducked, sand spraying. For minutes the dance repeated, speed against size. Yet every near miss sucked breath from watchers. A single hit from the mountain would end it. Barristan slashed calf armor. Sparks burst. Clegane roared, swung overhead. The White Knight parried, but the force drove him to knee. Gasps, Dewoye. Clegane kicked. Barristan tumbled, rolling away. Dust-curtained vision. In stands, Arya squeezed, needle pommel, knuckles bloodless. Robb gripped railing. Ned's lips moved silent encouragement. Barristan rose, chest heaving. He pivoted out of another charge, sword tips slicing inside elbow joint. Black blood spurted. Clegane bellowed, but momentum carried him past, knee buckling. The Elder Knight seized moment. A riposte upward into exposed armpit. Steel bit deep. Down, Chevalier. This time crimson gushed. The mountain stumbled yet stayed upright, rage fueling. He raised sword one-handed and brought it down. Barristan blocked, but was hammered to sand, arm numb. Clegane yanked blade free, swung again, missed as Barristan rolled. But the old knight was slower. Age's tax collected. Clegane advanced unstoppable. Barristan planted sword in earth, used it to liver upright. Blood trickled from his ear. He raised blade in salute. To Robert. To Ned. No, to the 7 and those who still believed. Clegane swung, killing blow. At last second Barristan stepped inside, letting gargantuan edge shear half his flowing cloak. Close now. He drove pommel into Clegane's visor grill. Metal dented, visor jammed. A second strike cracked further. Clegane tried to retreat, but sight was smeared. Barristan hacked at knee again. Again, a woodsman at stubborn trunk. Plate clove, tendon parted. Clegane toppled sideways, with a sound like tower stone collapsing. Before he could rise, Barristan plunged Lady Forlorn through visor slit into eye. Sword hilt rammed steel. Night and mountain shuddered once and stilled. Dust settled. Silence held for heartbeat after immeasurable heartbeat. Then the dragon pit exploded with shouts. White cloaks rushed to lift their elder brother. Northmen banged shields. Cersei screamed wordless denial, claws scratching at sandstone until guards restrained her. Robert stood, voice booming. Let it be written, the gods have spoken, justice prevails. Eddard Stark's charge stands true. Shears rolled. Barristan's knees wobbled. Robb and Grey Wind intercepted, supporting. Stannis approached Robert. Law is satisfied. Next is consequence. He glanced at Cersei. Sentence. Robert looked to Ned, then to crowd. Exiled to Casterly Rock, under armed watch. until Great Council decides final fate. Murmurs mixed approval and outrage. He added, "Her children are wards of the crown pending legitimacy hearings." Cersei spat, but guards hauled her away. The Northern Crusade had toppled a queen, slain a kingslayer, humbled a mountain, but the realm's wounds ran deeper. Tywin Lannister's host still advanced. In council chamber war maps unfurled anew. Renly advised swift assault on Harrenhal. Stannis counseled blockade and attrition. Robert, weary yet sober, deferred to Ned. "Lord Stark, you began this crusade." Ned traced finger along river lines. "We fight once, decisively, where honor can be witnessed. Then we make peace upon its proof. Draw Tywin into riverlands, cut supply, force parley. Promise justice, not ruin. Wolves bite but don't devour carrion." Stannis grimaced. Renly smiled, enamored of pageantry. Hoster Tully nodded. War would proceed, but with purpose tempered by northern chill. Letters flew on raven wings, to Lysa Arryn offering alliance, to Doran Martell promising inquiry into Elias' fate, to Greyjoy suggesting trade pacts, to Night's Watch pleading men. With each dispatch, the Seven Kingdoms recalibrated. At Winterfell, Jon Snow received parchment sealed direwolf and stag. Reading in torchlight, he felt horizon widen. Robb naming him commander of a northern contingent. Honor despite bastard name. He closed eyes, seeing an icy King's Road stretching south, and whispered oath to protect family and realm. Beyond, at Castle Black, Maester Aemon smiled at swirling storms of change. "Winter's grip commands all," he mused to Samwell Tarly. "Yet new shoots brave snow. Watch closely, for history seldom grants such turning pages." As days bled into weeks, King's Landing shifted hue. Graffiti of roaring wolves replaced lions on broken walls. Street singers crafted ballads of the old wolf and the white knight. Grain markets opened without bribes. Yet every dawn Ned still walked ramparts, watching west for dust of approaching vengeance. One evening, he found Sansa in the Godswood, prayer book closed on lap. "Father," she asked, eyes red-rimmed, "will we ever see home again?" Ned knelt beside her, distant bells tolling. "Home is carried within the heart until feet find soil. We will walk Winterfell's halls once justice completes its circuit." He brushed hair from her face. "Until then, be strong. The realm is made of stories. Let ours teach truth." Sansa nodded, tears catching moonlight. She opened book, resumed reading. But now her lips moved not in courtly hymns, but in old northern words, cold and sure as first frost. Far across Blackwater Bay, a ship bearing a red-combed figure sailed east. Sandor Clegane stood at prow, burn-scarred face turned from sunrise. He had taken one look at his brother's corpse and fled, not from fear, but from chains cracked open. Freedom tasted briny. Somewhere beyond the narrow sea lay answers to questions he'd never dared ask. For now he sailed, leaving lions to their dens, wolves to their hunts. The eve before marching west, Ned visited Jaime's tomb. The crypt under Baelor's sept smelled of incense and regret. Marble effigy not yet carved, only shroud-wrapped body upon slab. Ned regarded the still form. "Had you chosen honor," he whispered, "we might have reshaped the realm together." The silence gave no reply. He lay a single white rose upon chest. But in death, perhaps the song warns others. Footsteps behind, Barristan. The old knight bowed head. "I'll guard him to gates of memory, though he guarded none." "Thank you," Ned said. They departed, torchlight chasing cold. At dawn, 12,000 northern spears marched from King's Landing, gray banners snapping. Riverlords joined ranks, reached cavalry under Renly flank. Stannis manned city walls with Stormlanders and loyal gold cloaks, ensuring quiet. Robert rode with Ned one last time to the ford of the Manter, where he would turn back to fortify capital. "Bring me peace, old friend," the king said, eyes moist. "I will bring truth," Ned answered. They embraced, a short clasp of forearms, then parted, one toward city, one toward war. Gray wind bayed skyward as column moved. Dust billowed. Somewhere ahead, Tywin's lion banners waited. Behind, the Red Keep's spires receded into morning haze, like red-tipped spears planted in dusty fields. Robb rode at Ned's side, mail gleaming. "Will the South accept North's justice, father?" "They will learn," Ned said. "All men learn, given winter enough." Ahead, the King's Road stretched, sun-gilding path. The Northern Crusade, once unthinkable, now carved its saga into stone and skin of Westeros. Wolves marched, packs joined by stags and trout and roses, toward a reckoning the realm would record in ice and fire. Yet for Ned Stark, the Crusade's truest battle remained within, to keep honor's flame alight amidst winds, eager to snuff it. As hoofbeats drummed cadence, he pressed gloved hand over the faint wound at his side, felt heartbeat echo. It pulsed not fear but promise, of family safeguarded, of realm reforged, of winter, yes. But winter faced together, and so he rode, gray cloak streaming, sword ice, a sleeping giant across his back, leading a crusade not merely of northern vengeance, but of northern conscience. Slow, relentless, inevitable as the first snowflake that heralds a storm no heat of summer can deny. Yim schauen Schirren und Welchen Tattichten. Morning mists curled along the riverbanks like shy spirits, clinging to reeds until the first spears of sunlight pierced their shrouds. The northern host pushed westward in deliberate stages, wagons creaking under barrels of salt pork and sacks of barley. Blacksmith forges lashed onto axles so sparks flew even as wheels turned. Between marching psalms, riders exchanged rumors. Tywin amassing siege towers at Harrenhal, Freys gathering at the Twins. Dornish outriders sighted on the Prince Pass. Every whisper stirred the army's blood, but Eddard Stark measured each day by simpler pulses. Thus the crusade rolled onward, a slow grinding mill of iron discipline. Near Pink Maiden Castle, they found the red fork swollen by spring melt. Flooded fields mirrored clouds, and eddies coiled like serpents across submerged hedgerows. Lord Piper opened his gates, offering fealty and ferries. Still, crossing would take 2 days. Ned posted Stark bowmen along the far shore before the first flat-bottomed barges slipped into water. Arrows knocked to dissuade unseen foes. By midnight, rain powdered canvas, turning earth to red slurry. Fires guttered. Soldiers hunkered beneath cloaks, yet the mood remained taut, eager, unbroken. At dawn, gray wind padded through Ned's command tent flap, muzzles spattered with mud. The direwolf dropped a severed, gold-embroidered gorget at Ned's feet, Lannister crimson soaked black. Scouts confirmed a skirmish on the western ridge. Karstark outriders ambushed a lion patrol probing ferry progress. No prisoners. Ned stroked the wolf's shaggy crown and whispered gratitude. Every fallen raven warned the lion of winter's claws. That afternoon, a messenger under peace flag arrived. Sir Kevan Lannister, armor dented, temper ironed flat by fatigue. Ned greeted him before Piper's palisade, Robb and Blackfish at flanks. Kevan's bow was curt. "My Lord Stark, Lord Tywin offers parley at the Bridge of Fairmarket 3 days hence." Robb's hand drifted to sword pommel. Parley or trap? Kevan's eyes held weary honesty. Tywin Lannister does not ambush envoys. He wishes terms to spare Riverland's ruin. Ned considered river mud, storm clouds, men nursing fevers in carts. "Tell Lord Tywin I will come," accompanied by 2 nobles and no more. Kevin dipped head. Agreed. As he mounted, he met Ned's gaze once more, something like distant respect glinting behind Lannister gold. "Guard your honor, Stark," he said. "It has teeth." 3 days marched like slow thunder. On the eve of parley, sagging willows crowned the ridge, an abandoned sept whose wooden wings leaned under moss weight. Ned set camp there, banners clustering in the hollow's lee. That night, he walked perimeter alone, allowing each campfire's glow to burn an image into memory. Mormont's sisters teaching archers to fletch new shafts, Glover smiths mending maester stores, Crannogmen painting frog venom onto reeds. In these small tasks, he saw the realm he fought for. No grand lords nor petty crowns, just toil seeking justice. In his tent, he found Caitlin awake, quill scratching parchment. She sealed letters to Rob's younger siblings, to lords of White Harbor, even to Vayon Poole, steward of Winterfell, ordering fresh grain shipments south. When she noticed him, her mouth softened. "You treat with Tywin, and I with posterity. Someone must consider tomorrow." Ned knelt beside her. "Tomorrow depends on today's restraint." She placed Quill aside, fingertips brushing his cheek's rough stubble. "Restraint and resolve are siblings in your house," she murmured. "Bring both to the bridge." Fairmarket stone span arched wide across the Blue Fork, high enough that spring flood water frothed below. At midday, Ned arrived wearing a simple gray cloak, ice-sheathed but present. With him rode Brynden Blackfish and Lord Rickard Karstark. No household gods, no direwolf. Symbolic trust offered like a blade's hilt. On the opposite bank, Tywin waited, astride a tall destrier, crimson plumes snapping in breeze. He wore full plate trimmed in polished gold. Behind him towered ranks of silent men-at-arms, banners crackling. Between armies, on mid-span, a single oaken table had been set, 2 chairs. Shieldbangers hammered silence as lords dismounted and sat. Tywin's gaze raked Ned like a ledger. "You bring an army hungry for retribution. Why speak before striking?" Ned folded gloved hands. "Because winter kills more corpses than swords. I offer you chance to end this before Riverlands burn again." Tywin's lip twitched. "You speak of mercy after caging my daughter, killing my son." "Jaime did with a weapon in hand," Ned replied evenly. "Cersei faces trial for crimes proven. And my grandchildren, do they dangle like puppets until some council of Northmen chooses their fate?" "Malman, Borne. They live," Ned answered. "Their claim to the throne rests with truth. Let the 7 judge." Tywin leaned back, metal creaking. "Your truth makes bastards of kings. That poison will drown the realm in blood. Release the queen. Resign treason charge, and the lion withdraws." Brynden spat. "And the north bends again? Not while rivers remember Harrenhal." Tywin's eyes flicked to the Blackfish. "Old wounds breed old fools." Ned exhaled. "I propose ceasefire. Lannister host returns west of the Red Fork. Stark host north of the Tumblestone. Within fortnight, a great council convenes at River Run. All great houses present. Faith to mediate. Council will judge succession. Treason charges, restitution. Until verdict, hostilities cease. Until..." Tywin drummed gauntlet fingers on oak. "You gamble my honor on baubles of faith. Why trust council not stacked by your bannermen?" "Because seats reflect population," Ned said. "Because your armies still outnumber mine, yet you sit here. Because wildfire almost consumed your own blood." He paused. "Because gold only shines in daylight. Night reveals shapes beneath." Silence pooled. Wind moaned through bridge arches. Tywin's jaw muscles clenched. Finally, he stood. 14 days. If council wavers a breath beyond, my armies march, and Stark blood will salt fields from Seaguard to the Neck. Ned rose likewise. 14 days. They did not shake hands. Instead, each lord turned, boots echoing upon stone as ravens took wing. Back at camp, news spread of fragile truce. Some cheered, others cursed wasted momentum. Great John Umber threw back ale and proclaimed lions would never keep oaths forged without swords. Robb wrestled frustration, but Ned addressed him beside the cold embers of their breakfast fire. Victory measured by corpses breeds seeds of next war, Ned said. Give lawful judgment a chance. If council fails, we fight having tried honor first. Robb nodded. Those storm clouds lingered behind young blue eyes. The journey to River Run ran under banners of truce. Along roads, burned villages still smoked. Stark squadrons dismounted to help peasants buried dead from earlier lion raids. Women wept into straw as northern soldiers raised crude wooden markers. Children stared at gray cloaks with awe and fear. One night, a mute boy approached Ned bearing half a loaf. He pressed it into Ned's gauntlet and fled. Ned kept the bread until dawn, then ate it on horseback, tasting silent gratitude. At River Run's gates, Edmure Tully stood to greet him, red hair tucked beneath helm ringed with silver trout. Behind him, rivermen cheered. "Brother," he cried, embracing Caitlin, "you bring half the north. I bring an open hearth." Ned clasped Edmure's shoulder, whispering counsel to temper youth's temper for the delicate days ahead. Within River Run's halls, lords arrived like crows to a fresh battlefield. Mace Tyrell in resplendent rose silks, Doran Martell's emissary with sun spear brooch, Lord Balon's daughter Yara Greyjoy, salted cloak dripping, Jon Arryn's widow Lysa, eyes skittering, clutching young Robert by hand. From the Vale rode Bronze Jan Royce, cloak of runes. Even Stannis came, jaw a hard line. Renly followed, smiling yet measured. The faith was represented by the High Septon, robes of cloth of gold, drifting incense. 2 seats remained vacant, one for the king, one for Tywin. On the 14th morning, trumpets announced the Lion's arrival. Tywin in scarlet, Kevin in ranks behind. He scanned banners, direwolf, trout, crowned stag, sun spear, rose, kraken, falcon. No dragon, Daenerys stormborn, yet drifted rumor-born across the narrow sea. Tywin allowed himself a thin smile. Perhaps fate still favored him. Great council commenced in River Run's grand hall, tapestries of the Trident's victory rippling above. Robert Baratheon entered amid hush, walking cane steadying swollen knee. He wore a plain jerkin, crown absent. Taking his seat, he addressed the assembly. "I am Robert of houses Baratheon and Arryn, once king, now judge of my own sins. I stand accused by conscience and realm of failing duty." Murmurs rippled. He continued, "This council decides succession, justice, reconciliation. Speak without threat of blade. By my word, any who draws steel in this hall forfeits life." The High Septon intoned blessing, banners dipped, and debate began. Day after day, lords rose, voices echoing across vaulted ceilings. Stannis cited the Baratheon line of succession, rightful claim his as Robert's true brother. Renly countered with love of realm, claiming the small folks' hearts. Tywin demanded Joffrey's legitimacy recognized, waving Master Scroll of Precedent where bastardy rarely unthroned kings. Ned produced Jon Arryn's parchments of lineage, Maester Pycelle's confessions under Septon oath, and Arya Stark's deposition of incest overheard. Royce supported, reciting sightings of gold-haired bastards across crown lands. Lysa Arryn, pale, insisted her husband's alleged poisoning proved need to exile Lannisters. Doran's envoy spoke quietly of Elias' murder, reminding court of Lyon's old crimes. Mace Tyrell weighed riches against risk, urging unity but hinting alliance for whoever protected Reach harvests. Outside Hall, lesser courtiers speculated on plots. Varys, newly arrived, flitted among camps, listening like a silk-winged moth. Tyrion played Sivas with Blackfish, trading quips for insight. Sansa became confidante to Shireen Baratheon, exchanging tales by moonlit balcony. On the 7th night, before council reconvened, assassins slipped across River Round's moat. Guided by secret ledger Tywin had once commissioned, they scaled Southern Tower, blades blackened. Their target, Eddard Stark. Yet Grey Wind's low growl stirred the camp just after midnight. Robb sprang from bed, sword bare, following Wolf into dark. In Ned's tent, two shadows loomed. Robb burst in as first assassin lunged. Steel met steel. Battle was brief, but brutal. Wolf at throat, Robb's sword through belly. The second assassin fled, only to meet Bryndon's knife at tent flap. Dawn saw lords gathered before Ned's tent, shock-painting faces. Ned addressed them with corpse at his feet. Though truce holds armies at bay, daggers still slither. Let those responsible declare war openly, else wear coward skin forever. Eyes swung to Tywin's pavilion. The lion emerged. Gaze unreadable. My men kill under banners, not tents, he said. Proof or silence? Proof came from Assassin's Purse, a silver stag minted only months earlier, stamped with frosted lion rampant, coin of Casterly rock. Tywin's nostril flared, but he neither confirmed nor denied. Council convulsed. Reach and Dorne condemned attempt. Vale threatened to withdraw. Tywin stood alone, as whispers dubbed him Oathbreaker. Yet he remained unbowed. If realm abandons lawful heirs, realm forfeits Lannister gold. He warned. On the 10th day, Maesters tallied votes for heirs. Stannis led by narrow margin over Renly, both eclipsing Joffrey, yet still short of majority. Houses Tyrell and Frey withheld, seeing advantage in stalemate. Night saw tense feasts where alliances bartered like horses. Inside River Roan's Godswood Ned sought calm. Petals of river lily drifted on pool, disturbed by a restless carp. Dada, Barristan joined, white cloak reflecting moon. A council of tongues, yet swords decide, the old knight mused. Perhaps, Ned said, yet tongues forge oaths swords must honor. If swords precede oaths, war reigns eternal. Barristan smiled. 7 guard your steadfast heart. Few carry such weight without bending. He offered parchment, a letter delivered by Crow from King's Landing, Sir Davos Seaworth's hand. Ned read. Stannis' wife found secret ledgers showing Cersei funneled crown gold to hire sell sales. Evidence undermined Joffrey further. But more urgent, rumors of dragon banners unfurling east. Daenerys had married a warlord and birthed living dragons. Ned folded letter. The world grows stranger while we wrestle old lies. At dawn of 14th day, council reconvened for final vote. Yet before tally, doors slammed. Maester Viman hurried in, face ashen. News from King's Landing. Queen Cersei has escaped custody. Qyburn's ravens report she fled by galley to Dragonstone, escorted by loyal gold cloaks. Stannis' face darkened flame. Dragonstone is mine. Her presence usurps sanctuary. Nay, Tywin exhaled through nose, recognizing daughter's audacity. Council erupted. Ned pounded table. Order. We decide now or realm fractures anew. He looked to Robert, who sat pale but resolute. Robert stood, leaning on cane. I abdicate. Drink and sorrow ruin me. Let better men rule. He faced council. By the gods, and in memory of Jon Arryn, I endorse Eddard Stark as regent until lawful monarch chosen. Stunned silence. Ned rose to protest, but Robert lifted hand. No, ye. You refused crown once. Now realm needs caretaker, not conqueror. Accept or betray your own creed. Done to your... Ned's shoulders sagged beneath invisible yoke. He nodded slowly. I accept regency, bound to step aside when council crowns rightful heir. High septon raised arms. Let hearts bear witness. Murmurs of assent spread. Tyrell Martell, Greyjoy nodded. Royce voiced aye. Even Tywin inclined head, calculating advantages of Stark regent over Baratheon rival. Vota resumed. Stannis still lacked wider support. Renly withdrew, backing Stannis in exchange for Highgarden privileges. Tyrell accepted, tipping balance. Joffrey's claim collapsed without Cersei's presence, and Tywin did not press. Stannis Baratheon, by count of houses and faith, became king of Westeros. In acceptance, Stannis declared, "The realm sickens of corruption. I will heal or break it trying." He confirmed Ned's regency for 6 moons while frontier wars settled. The hall bowed. Tywin lingered but signaled vassals to kneel. Pride she. That night, bells rang over Riverrun, echoing across rivers like new songs. Tents erupted in cautious celebration. Casks opened, fiddles scratched reels. Yet within Ned's pavilion, maps already unfurled, lines of retreat for Lannister armies. Orders for rebuilding burnt hamlets, grain quotas. Robb entered. "Father, King Stannis summons you to draw a peace charter." Ned glanced outside at revelry. "Tell his grace I come." He fixed cloak of grey wool, old wolf emblem. Before leaving, he touched the letter about Dragon's Rise, tucking it inside breastplate. One fire quenched, another flickered over horizon. He stepped into night. Stars wheeled like icy beacons above, silent testimony to endless cycles of power and humility. Around him, men sang of victory, of home, of harvest, not war. Their voices mingled with crickets and distant river rush. A fragile harmony Ned vowed to guard. Morning revealed Tywin's host withdrawing west. Banners lowered in grudging salute. Robb led scouts to ensure safe passage, proof the North kept word. In exchange, Lannister wagons left chests of silver to fund rebuilding. Peace, hammered out of grief, began to breathe. King Stannis sailed for Dragonstone to reclaim his seat and confront Cersei's galley. Renly rode south, escorting Mace to Highgarden as ally. Dorne's envoy departed with treaty promising justice for Elia. Yara Greyjoy returned to Pike with promise of trade, not conquest. Royce guided Lysa Arryn home, council seat for Vale secure. Ned remained at River Run, regent seal heavy around his neck. He oversaw grain distribution, court disputes, appointment of new small council, Davos Seaworth as master of ships, Tyrion Lannister, at Stannis' insistence. For coin, Brienne of Tarth as sworn shield to Sansa, renamed Lady of the Court. Barristan resumed Lord Commander of King's Guard, training new recruits drawn from each kingdom. Winter's specter loomed still. Ravens from the wall warned of restless dead, tales Ned once dismissed as ghost stories. Now, with dragons stirring across sea, he listened. Upon first snowfall, Ned stood on River Run's battlements. Robb reported Frey bridges fortified and free of toll for crowned soldiers. Grey wind paced, white breath gusting. Catelyn arrived, cloaked in fox fur, placing gloved hand on husbands. "We did not seek rule," she said, "but rule found us." "Soon," Ned promised, though horizon held myriad fires to douse. The pack must return to Din before winter's heart. He smiled, and rebuild hearth larger. Below, children chased flakes, laughter rising against flurries. Smiths hammered new plowshares beside broken swords, sparks rivaling snow. A bard tuned lute, crafting fresh ballad of the wolf's crusade, of old honor marching south to wake a realm from gold-drenched sleep. Ned listened, then turned west where red sun dipped. Somewhere beyond ridges, a lion licked wounds, and beyond seas, a dragon spread wings. Between them stood a wall of winter, and a Stark who bore a crown of conscience. He drew breath crisp as iced apple, tasting promise in chill. For the first time since leaving Winterfell, he dared whisper it inward. We may yet know peace, but peace, like dawn, must be guarded till full light. So he pulled cloak tight, descended stairs to council chamber, and set to work before night's long vigil swallowed song. Behind him snowflakes melted on stone, each drop marking a path of blood, washed clean by winter's patient hand. Proof that even crusades, if tempered by honor, could seed renewal. And the wolves, ever watchful, lifted noses to falling sky, sensing deeper cold still to come, yet unafraid, for pack now stretched across kingdoms, bound by stories etched in ice and fire.